In 1968, Kuwait, a young Egyptian nurse named Sanaa had just arrived to work in the Ministry of Health. At the time, Kuwait was recruiting many medical professionals from Egypt, Syria, and Palestine. Sanaa and her colleagues lived in a special housing complex for nurses near the old Al-Firdaus and Al-Hamra cinemas. These cinemas were popular, with Al-Firdaus showing Indian films and Al-Hamra screening Arabic ones. One evening, after work, Sana and a fellow nurse decided to visit the cinema. On their way out, they stopped by a small store nearby. The shopkeeper was a young Omani man named Amer. The moment Amer laid eyes on Sana, blonde hair, green eyes, and fair skin, he was captivated. It was rare in Kuwait at that time to see women dressed as freely as those from Egypt. He struck up a conversation, and Sana responded warmly. It didn't take long for a romance to blossom. Amer and Sana fell in love, and soon after, they married legally in Kuwait. She moved out of the nurse dormitory and into a small flat with Amer. He was completely devoted to her, and she felt the same. However, Amer revealed that he had a wife and children back in Oman. Still, Sana accepted the situation and vowed to stay with him wherever life took them. When Sana became pregnant, she decided to return to Egypt to give birth, as she had no family in Kuwait and needed care. She promised Amer she would return with the baby after a few months. In Egypt, she gave birth to a beautiful daughter named Suad. Suad inherited her father's warm skin tone and her mother's striking eyes. Months passed, but Sana was unable to return. New immigration regulations in Kuwait made it impossible to re-enter with a child unless they had proper residency or employment contracts. With no way to contact Amer and no details beyond a marriage certificate lacking his nationality, she remained in Egypt. Amer, back in Kuwait, waited and hoped, but eventually believed she had abandoned him. Heartbroken, he returned to Oman in 1972. Years passed. Suad grew up in Egypt, brilliant and beautiful, but constantly bullied and called illegitimate. Her mother tried defending her by showing the marriage certificate, but people doubted its authenticity. Even within her extended family, they faced accusations and shame. Sana eventually moved out and raised Suad on her own, working any job she could find. Despite her struggles, Suad graduated from high school with excellent grades but couldn't afford university. One day, a kind woman named Ashraf took them in as tenants. She grew fond of Suad, treating her like a daughter. In 1999, Ashraf proposed that her only son, Ashraf, a kind and honorable man, marry Suad. Initially hesitant due to the rumors about Suad's background, Ashraf eventually agreed, having seen her character firsthand. On their wedding day, Ashraf made a vow to Suad, "I promise I will spend my life finding your father." And he meant it. Ashraf sold his businesses and spent 8 years searching across Saudi Arabia, Yemen, the UAE, and Kuwait, following every possible lead. But the only clue he had was the name Amer and a marriage certificate with no nationality. Just when hope seemed lost in 2008, he met a group of Omani tourists in Egypt. One of them recognized the name and believed he knew Amer's family. Ashraf traveled to Oman and found Amer, older now, living a quiet life. When they met, Amer was stunned. At first he thought Ashraf was his son, but Ashraf explained, "I'm your daughter Suad's husband." The emotional reunion was overwhelming. Amer embraced Ashraf and wept. The two returned to Egypt, and Amer was finally reunited with Sana and met his daughter and grandchildren. Amer officially recognized Suad as his daughter. She and her children were granted Omani citizenship, and her half-brothers welcomed her with open arms. Her life transformed. Her father's family bought her a home in Oman, and she resumed her studies. But then, the story took a painful turn. Ashraf, having given everything to find Suad's father, returned briefly to Egypt. When he tried to move to Oman permanently with his wife and kids, Suad began delaying him. Over time, she became distant. Eventually, she told him she no longer loved him and wanted a divorce. Heartbroken, Ashraf pleaded, reminding her of all he had done, but she insisted. He tried to see his children, but Suad denied him access. A bitter legal battle followed. She accused him of abuse, had him jailed briefly, and ultimately forced him out of Oman. He returned to Egypt with nothing. Now Ashraf lives in poverty in Egypt, still hoping that one day his children will come looking for him. just like he once searched for their grandfather.